Welcome in to another episode of the Nintendo Rewind. I'm Cody Christian, and I'm joined by Josh Taylor, hosting the premier podcast covering all the latest news, reviews, announcements from Nintendo. We're rewinding and recapping last week, but before we dive in, Joshua, tell me how it's going, man.
Hey, not too bad. I'm just wrapping up another busy day, so I probably look like I'm a little tired. Totally not true. I'm totally super awake and ready to go here. No, I'm ready to get this thing going and get this channel up properly and do our little giveaway here first, of course.
Dude, I'm so excited. Let me just tell you, though, I'm going to tell you this. Last week, we missed you. We had a good guest on. It was Super Nintendo. Obviously, for those of you who are just joining here, this is our inaugural episode on the actual Nintendo Rewind channel. So we're trying to do that affiliate grind. What I'm going to ask you guys to do over here on Twitch is stick with us while we're live. Have an average of 3 viewers is what we're looking for. That's pretty much it. And then we can get monetized and be able to bring you guys some emotes and some various different things like that. But last week's episode was really good. We had Super Nintendo on. I missed having you, Josh, but I understand the cow called, right?
Yes, he did.
Oh man.
For those who don't know, my part-time job is at Chick-fil-A, so I had to get back there and start making waffle fries. So sorry I couldn't make it. It usually wouldn't happen on Tuesday night.
I get it though. Like that's life. It's life. It happens, man. Did you do anything besides work this past week though?
Let's see. I worked. For anything interesting, I mean, I got in a few games here and there. Still working through Portal 2. You know, I got this little dude today in the mail that I ordered back in July, and he finally showed up.
Dude, that's amazing. It's so cool looking.
I love these figures. I wish I could afford more and had the space for it, because I could really get myself in trouble collecting those. I really want the Banjo-Kazooie one. But
is that like directly through, like, where did you get that anyway?
U2's.
Oh, yeah. I totally forgot U2's exists. Maybe one day we'll get
they're
one.
They're nice. They're like $30 though.
They are like $30. Hopefully, fingers crossed. U2's, if you're listening, if you're watching, come make an action figure out of me and Josh. We'd be a good duo. It'd be good.
Yeah.
Anything else cool though?
Couldn't wait to see how that looked. Not off the top of my head, you know. Well, my book is still edging closer, so we're getting closer to that. Nothing official on the date yet, but it's like any day now we should be hearing back.
I did see you post. You were mentioning that you were already working on the next big thing, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I got kind of bored and was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start typing. So I typed up like a whole page, just kind of getting things rolling.
I mean, as busy as you are, getting bored, that's amazing.
Well, I don't know if you call it bored. I probably should have been doing other things, but I had access to a computer at the time, so I'll just leave it at that.
I understand that. Yeah, no, my last week was a little bit crazy. It wasn't like anything out of the way, but we did quite a bit of stuff. We started back up with homeschool this past week. So like for those who don't know, I homeschool my kids. So I'm home here all the time with them, and it's been good. Today is day 2 getting back into that post-Christmas grind. So it's been a little bit rough getting them back to that like regular routine and schedule because they don't want to. They want to play now. I don't blame them. We trained them to play for like the last month. So, but it's been good. We also, I'm trying to think what else I ended up doing. My sister came in this past weekend. It was super nice. I got to play some Eastward board game with her. So, that was the thing. So my Eastward collector's edition came in, which I've been waiting for over a year. Just to put this in perspective, my wife bought this for me as a Christmas present, not for this year, but last year's Christmas. So, and originally it was supposed to ship in like Q1, and I love that game. That game left an impact on me in like no other way. Like it's so good. But I ended up getting in the Eastward Collector's Edition and the vinyl, and in the Collector's Edition and the Collector's Edition vinyl, it had a board game that was included with it, and both segments had one that you could combine into one giant board game. So the wife and I and my sister ended up playing quite a bit of that over the weekend. I was a little sick as far as that goes too, so like I was trying to recover. I didn't get to stream as much as I wanted to. The one stream that I did pretty much this past week after Nintendo Rewind last week was yesterday, and I played Wario Land Virtual Boy on stream. And if you've not played that one, it's very good. But it is also a Dark Souls boss at the end, trying to defeat that final boss. I died so many times. I was originally thinking about doing like a speed run of it, and then was like, no, that's not happening. It took me an hour and 55 minutes to complete it from like start to finish. It was like the speed run for it right now is 17 minutes and 20 seconds. I've gotta practice a lot to get that time down, but it's been good. It's been really, really good. I'm glad to have you back in the co-host wheel. Big thanks to Super Nintendad, by the way. If none of you guys are following Super Nintendad, let me give him a quick shout out because he was a great help last week. Go over and give him a follow and support him. That being said, we do have some news planned today, quite a bit of news, and we've got a main topic planned, and we're also going to be bringing back the TDIN HGG. My God, I need a better name for that section of the podcast. But
I kind of like it. It's ridiculous, but it kind of makes it great.
Oh, it's beyond ridiculous. But Joshua, that being said, do you want to take away the news segment?
Yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing started. Alrighty, so to start, there's not a whole lot going on in the My Nintendo front. It's still sort of that early, getting into the mid-January section, so there's not a whole lot going on there, but there is a new January calendar wallpaper for Pikmin 4, which I kind of like those. They had one last month, and it was my phone wallpaper, and I like this one, so I hope they keep up these little Pikmin wallpapers.
I'm a big fan
of course, there's nothing new with the sweepstakes.
I'm a big fan of this one. Comparatively, like
I'm always cool with more Pikmin.
Oh yeah. Comparatively, as far as that goes, I mean, you can kind of see I've got it on the board. But the other one was another code recollection last week. This calendar wallpaper, this is the one I wanted to see. So I really like this wallpaper.
Still nothing new in the physical rewards. It feels like it's been a little while. I guess the calendars and stuff in January or whatever it was they were giving out. And digital rewards is the little icons. This one's for the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet icons still. It's wave 5 of those, and they are available until the 11th, which is whatever day this is, Thursday. So you still got a couple days for that. No game trials, anything like that going on. Now, onto the events, and one of these actually, I'll get to that in a minute, just popped up a little while ago, but there is the Frosty Fest Splatfest this weekend, January the 12th through the 14th. I've never missed a Splatfest, so I'm gonna have to at least jump in. I've done at least 2 matches ever since the first game, so I got to get in a little bit of time there. But it is basically who you spend the holidays with. It's as they word it, solo, with friends, or with family. So I think we're all doing family, and we'll be jumping in there this weekend sometime.
Absolutely. I think we may try to stream it here on this channel as well, just so that way people get the chance to come by and pop by and join in with our team. Family's kind of where it's at for me too. I feel bad for anyone that's staying solo here. Like, come be a part of our family. Like, I don't want you to be home alone.
I think it sounds, to me it sounds kind of sad, I guess, off first reading it. But then if you look at the little squid in the picture, he looks kind of cozy. He looks happy.
It's true. So, he does got that cocoa. He does got that cocoa.
But and of course, this one comes with a new Frosty Fest gear and a big banner and all of that. So I like when they go a little extra mile with those. Now with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I am going to pronounce this way wrong. I want to say a casual Pokemon fan. I've played most of this game. But this one is for is it Titan?
Yes, there you go. You got it.
And there is a mystery code there that expires August the 31st. So you've got a while there. It is basically, and you can look this up to see the exact lettering, I guess. It's on caps. It's L1KE, like a flute, basically. So you can look that up and get that anytime you get a chance here. You've got a few months at least. There's also a spicy, I believe it's Herbra Mystica, or Sweet Herbra Mystica mystery gift code. And then there's a new code for that as well. It is sweet or spicy. And the O is a 0, the ones or the I is a 1. That expires in September the 30th.
It's in Leet speak. It's in Leet speak. I think we should be good on that.
So you've got like half a year if you've got that game. I need to turn it back on and maybe do that. Now the thing that just popped up here as we were getting ready, actually, and we knew something was coming. And I know spirits aren't the most exciting thing, but in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, there will be 5 days of new spirits from some of Nintendo's latest games. It's starting January the 11th, so this Thursday. I believe for this round, they didn't say necessarily everything that was going to be a part of it, but they mentioned Tears of the Kingdom, uh, Pikmin 4. I think one of the Xenoblade games was on there. I believe it was 3. And wanting to say there was another one. Basically, a few of their newest releases will have some spirits added there. So it might just be spirits, but it is something. I'm glad to see them add a little something into that, especially for their newer releases on Switch.
I'm excited. And they kind of talked about that. Like, I think we mentioned it in either our first or second episode that they had plans of releasing some new spirits coming in 2024. I don't think the game's dead. For me personally, I don't think I'm going to be jumping back in just to pick up some spirits, but I know you will be. Didn't you say you had a complete collection pretty much of all the spirits?
Oh, yeah.
My God.
Yeah, I have them all. Even the ones with the events and all that. I do have all the spirits. So I'll turn it on just to get them, even if, like, no offense to fans, but like Xenoblade 3 didn't really catch my attention. But I'll still get the spirits for it just because I've got all the rest of them, so why not? Yeah, I could go on a little bit longer about the spirits. I wish they did a little bit more, but hey, at least they're there.
I'm with you.
I don't know if anything else will come. I'm almost surprised that I haven't seen more people saying, "Oh, does this mean we have a chance at a whole other, set of DLC characters or anything like that?" I don't feel like I've seen that a whole lot this time. But who knows?
I will say,
that.
and I don't have it in our news section, but Sakurai's YouTube channel is ending this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a chance they might be putting that poor man's fingers, working him down to the bone again while he tries not to collapse underneath the work pressure. But, hey.
They do. And granted, I think some of it he does to himself. But, I mean, for the most part, he does some good works. I can't complain. I guess we benefit off of it. But I really hope he takes care of himself. Yeah. I mean, I could go on about Smash Brothers for a while. There's plenty of still cool additions we can add, to the game that aren't there yet. That's never shown up. That would be, a big deal. Just saying. So yeah, shall we move on from the events in the news here? I think we're sneaking up on our main topic.
We absolutely can. So tonight's main topic is games that deserve to be remade in Nintendo's pantheon of greatness. Now, that being said, we're also going to talk a little bit about games that should not be remade ever. But I think that we've got some strong feelings. There's some stuff that is out there that I would love to see getting a remake, getting the remake treatment. I mean, we just got, as far as this past year, we got Super Mario RPG remade. Coming up, we've got Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door getting remade. Earlier last year, we got Metroid Prime. Now, they classified that as a remaster. I would disagree because that game looked like it was redone from the ground up, right? But I think it's important to kind of classify what is a remake and what is a remaster. To me, Josh, and I don't know if you feel the same way, the remakes, that is a ground up, you've made something almost brand new out of it kind of situation.
Yeah.
If you look at like Super Mario RPG to the Super Mario RPG remake, or shall we call it Legend of the Seven Stars to Super Mario RPG, as far as that goes, that had to be ground up because they did not reuse any of the old assets in that game. It was something new all the way across. And maybe that's why Metroid Prime Remastered gets classified as a remaster, is because they could reuse a few of those assets. But I would argue that Metroid Prime Remastered had a lot more work put into it than what your typical remaster would do, right? To me, a remaster might just be giving it a couple of quality of life improvements, but bringing it to a current console. A remake, I already kind of laid the groundwork for what that is. So, with that being said, I've got my first hot take pick. And my first hot take pick for what should never be remade, is Super Mario World. And I'll tell you why. That game is perfect as is. It is perfect really as is. From the pixel look that is on it, all the way to the gameplay functionality, it is perfect as is. I compare it a lot to Super Mario Bros. 3 for my favorite Super Mario Bros. Game ever. I wouldn't say that Super Mario Bros. 3 shouldn't get remade because it already did get remade once for the Super Nintendo. But
Pretty much, yeah.
Super Mario World, there is something about that pixel art just being as timeless as it is. That soundtrack is catchy. And it's always remained catchy. I can identify those songs from just a few notes getting played because of how much time I put into that game and how good the music already was in it. I would even go as far to say that the gameplay of it, the way Mario runs, the way Mario jumps, the way he maintains his P speed, the way that he's got his spin jump, the way the spin jump functions, is good. I don't need your wall jump nastiness. Get that out of here. And I definitely don't need to ground pound. But all Mario functionally needs to do is run and jump, and they perfected the formula in that game. That is my first big hot take. And I don't know if you agree, but I just don't think it should be touched.
I could see it on that one. I think, especially with a lot of Super Nintendo games, from an art style perspective, a lot of them look really good the way they are. They're almost timeless, and I just don't see them doing it quite justice. Like that, they would have to completely change it up, and I don't know if that's what I want. I think they should just sort of leave it alone. I mean, they could port that, to the end of the world, and I think it would be fine. Said it's just one of those timeless ones that don't really need a bunch of adjustments.
Absolutely. Now, I will give you one additional piece on that hot take. I think it could stand to have a quote-unquote remaster. And what I mean by that is I would love for games to just get widescreen. That's all I want.
Well, yeah. I mean, that would be nice.
I don't need
very little things like that, maybe.
Yeah, I don't need anything else touched in that game. No ground up rebuild of that. Please don't put it in Mario Wonder style. Let Mario Wonder stay Mario Wonder. But give me widescreen if you're going to do anything. I'll take a remaster. Don't give me a remake of Super Mario World.
Oh, we're good.
You're up, sir.
Alrighty. I wanted to read one off of here real quick because I did not think of this one that I thought was really good. From Eric Ladd, he mentioned an Earthbound remake. Again, not one of my entries, but I don't know why I didn't think of that one. I've always wanted to see it like in that claymation style, like they use in the artwork.
Oh, yes. The
Something
one that
really
they quote-unquote teased. You look like you're having an earthquake, by the way.
I punched the table on accident. I got excited.
Just out of rage. Give me Earthbound now.
Yeah, well, Mother 3 would be nice, but that's never going to happen. But no, like something like that or the Link's Awakening remake, I think it would look really pretty. But yeah, I mean, I guess outside of that, one of the ones I did want to bring was, I'll start with kind of an oddball one here because it has been sort of ported over to something else first with the 3DS, but would be Donkey Kong Country Returns. And that one's just a very one that would be awesome to me. I don't think that's one that's like everybody's clamoring for, but with it stuck on the Wii, and again, not really counting the handheld remake of it, I feel like it's hard to go back to, like especially compared to the other 4 games in that series. I just had recently, I wish I'd quit hitting that because I am shaking the entire world. Anyway, I just tried to go back to it recently, and you can't use the classic controller on it. You like basically have to use either the nunchuck and the Wii remote, which is a little bit awkward anyway, especially for a game like that. And which means you also have to use the stick to run, which is like, barbaric. Never do that. Or you can use the Wii remote and you have to shake it every time you want to roll. And I don't really want to do either one of those things. I think it would really benefit a good upgrade. Just make it feel basically like Tropical Freeze. I don't feel like they'd have to do a whole lot to it to just sort of catch it up with the next game in that series, and hopefully a 6th game in that series at some point. But yeah, that one's just one of the ones that popped up first in my head. Again, I know it's not like one of those that everybody's clamoring for, but I feel like it could use that little bit of a push. Even just at least just catch it up to somewhat the graphics of Tropical Freeze, at least. Put it into HD if nothing else.
Like a remaster kind of situation, right? Like a remaster more so than even a remake. Because I'm with you. Like,
perhaps.
It kind of suffers from that same thing that Splatoon 1 suffers from, where Splatoon 1 is stuck on the Wii U. And while I don't need the multiplayer for it, I think Splatoon has done a good job creating lore and a world around its game. I think that the story mode of Splatoon 1 should absolutely be brought over. And it drives me kind of nuts that it's trapped on the Wii U in the same way that Donkey Kong Country Returns is trapped on the Wii. And I'm with you on the movement. Like, I understand, like, the movement, the reason they did it the way they did it is because the Wii lacked buttons. I mean, and they didn't want to do anything with the Pro controller that they released at the time. It was all just the Wiimote and a nunchuck. But, you know, I think they should absolutely catch it up to a graphical style and bring it over. And it's not the first. That was actually a really big surprise for me to hear you mention Donkey Kong Country Returns, because it's not the first one that pops into my mind when I think about, okay, well, a game needs a remake or a remaster, because it's so recent. But it's really not that recent. Like, I am an old man. Like, Splatoon 1 seems like yesterday. Donkey Kong Country Returns seems like yesterday. Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, that one's, gosh, I got to fix my table here. I apologize for the shaking. No, one reason I actually thought of it and booted it back up. One, I mean, Donkey Kong Country is like one of my favorite series of all time. Returns is maybe at the bottom of that, but I still love it. But no, like the theme parks and stuff. If you look at like the theme parks that they're coming out with here soon, look a lot Returns like, even with the tikis and things like that. I wish they'd bring back the Kremlins, but that's all right. So they're basing just a lot of Donkey Kong off of that game, really, almost even more so than Tropical Freeze in some ways. And it's like the one out of the 5, main country games that is just stuck where it is. So it just feels kind of weird. It's like the least accessible one, but they seem to want to make that like the basis for Donkey Kong Country, which is I'm okay with, but why not bring it up, with everything else?
Absolutely. No, I'm with you. On a topic of some off the wall stuff that will probably not happen, unfortunately. That will probably not happen. One of the games that I do think could handle having a remake that I don't think would take a whole lot of work, but maybe I could be wrong. I'm not a developer. I don't work with those people. I don't know what they do. But one of the games that I had on my list was actually F-Zero GX. And I know it's never going to happen, but I'm talking about GX. Like, that is the epitome of good F-Zero game. I've never been a giant fan of the original SNES one. And the N64 one was okay. GX was actually my very first one that I owned. And I loved that game. And
I got good at that one.
I mean, there's enough out there that, like, I think, between games like Thumper or even, there was another indie game that came out that was very F-Zero-esque. But those are games that were developed on shoestring budgets that took nothing, and they look amazing on the Switch. If they just took that format from F-Zero GX, popped it into the Switch or whatever that Switch successor is going to be, and really put the effort into it, like, that would be one that I think could deal with being remade. And especially knowing how much they don't want to dive into remaking their SNES library or even their N64 library, I think it's more likely that we see that, because they are remaking some of these cult classics from the GameCube era. Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door is a perfect example of it. Now, I say that in the same sentence that we just mentioned Super Mario RPG getting remade, but that's a totally different story. That is a totally different story. That had enough of a cult following. And I don't think F-Zero GX necessarily has the cult following, but it's a good racing game. I think it would be enough to satiate some of those louder fans that are out there going, bring back F-Zero! But do I think it's going to happen? Not really. And that's the one F-Zero game that I do want. I don't need anything new. Just give me that.
All right with that at this point. It's been like, what, 21 years, I think, this year since GX, and I fell in love with that game back then. And the arcade, the AX is super cool. I mean, I remember like getting master mode unlocked and all that on that game. I'd love to go back to it, especially like in HD. It looked really good on the GameCube. It still doesn't look bad, but it's stuck. It's stuck with those, just the old CRT TV kind of look. Like, I would be perfectly fine with just a good remaster. Nothing, doesn't need to be anything too crazy. I mean, I wouldn't complain if they adjusted the difficulty, but that's another story. I don't know if I want to do that again. That was tough.
I remember whenever I discovered emulation, I was streaming F-Zero GX in Discord for a little bit there, and I was surprised at how good I was still doing on that game. Like it was one of those that I will agree with you. It is tough as nails. But like once you learn how to feather your control stick and feather your speed just a little bit to keep yourself from driving into a wall and exploding, that game turns easy real quick. It turns easy real quick.
Kind of. The story mode, it almost throws all the rules out the window. Not to sit on it too long, but no, like I remember going back and I did like the hardest difficulty on even the story to unlock all the AX characters. And was it the tracks on there too? I can't remember, but
I think so.
I think it was just the characters. Yeah, you're right. They were on there, but anyhow, yeah, like that was super hard. Like just different challenges on there. You had to kind of throw everything else out the window. In certain challenges, like turn your acceleration all the way up, you sort of had to really figure them out. They're almost like a puzzle in themselves, and that made it even more challenging.
I mean, that gave me the experience that 200cc Mario Kart 8 did whenever that first came out, because I was not like Mario Kart was not a game that you touched the brakes on, and then suddenly it was a game that you touched the brakes on.
Oh yeah, it breaks it. You know, it breaks the game, but it's fun. You know,
oh yeah.
It's not made to do that, but I don't care. It's good fun.
What's your next pick, sir?
Okay, so my next real pick. I was trying to think of. One of my favorite series is Zelda, and there's a lot in that I don't feel like necessarily aged super well when you go really far back. And the first one that came to mind is one of the only ones in the whole series that I haven't beat is Zelda 2. I think it could use a decent remake. I don't think they need to add a whole bunch of like levels or anything like that. I just think they need to make it a little more playable. I know that sounds mean.
Some quality of life.
No, like get rid of the extra life system or something. You know, make it to where it's not as punishing. It's just sort of the day and age we live in at this point. You can call it handholdy or whatever, but I don't want to, work my way 10 minutes away from the starting point and then die twice and have to go all the way back and walk again just to die again. I never had the patience for it. So no, I'd love to see it get remade and to get reappreciated, because I do think there's still a lot of good with that game. I just don't think it's the most approachable by any means. You can get to the game itself. It's on the Switch. You can play the original version and things like that. But I just don't think many are able to enjoy it as much as they could if it was a little more accessible. I think it could just give it a good coat of paint. Make it where it adjusts what am I trying to say? I guess the controls to it a little bit. There's a few little things they could do to make it better. A good handful of quality of life improvements, and I think that would be a great one to bring back. I think a lot of other Zeldas do hold up pretty well, but that one I think could use a little love.
I would agree with you. I mean, when you mentioned Zelda, like my heart sank for a second, because there's a lot of them that are just perfect in and of themselves. I mean, A Link to the Past still holds up. Again, it's that SNES era pixel art that looks really, really good.
Yeah.
That I don't think you really have to do much to it to really appreciate it. There's not anything that I would say that you need to do to it to really appreciate it. But when you mention Legend of Zelda 2: Adventure of Link, and that's the one we're talking about, right? Adventure of Link.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
I was making sure. When you mention Zelda 2: Adventure of Link, I think about that game as the black sheep that nobody likes. From a broader perspective, I think people don't like that one because it changed so much about what made Zelda at the time, which we only had one example of, and that was the original Zelda. And then this sequel was so different from that original outing, and it was way less approachable. And in all honesty, I don't think people wanted that tough as nails 2D style for that game, and people still don't necessarily want that tough as nails 2D style, but it's still a good game. I would argue it's better than, and I'm sorry, you guys can crucify me if you want, but I think it's better than Triforce Heroes.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give you that one. I was going to say, wait, I don't think it's better than any Zelda. Then I forgot that existed.
Yep. So, but I think that I'm with you. If it did get the remake treatment, what would you want it to look like?
That part's a little tricky. I think they could. Gosh, I feel like they could go a lot of different ways with it. That's one of those that, if you look at like the old artwork for that one in the original game, there was sort of a not a super cartoony style. I don't know if I want to call it anime either. It's got a particular style to it that I think they could sort of translate it to, almost like Octopath Traveler, maybe a little less bloom effect. It doesn't necessarily need to be like
So like that
Zelda.
HD 2D just kind of look.
Yeah, perhaps something we haven't really seen so much before. Because I don't know if I can really compare it to anything else. What I can picture in my head anyway. Um, yeah, I just think they should still keep it sort of in that spirit. Like I want to see it look like Link from that era. I don't need to necessarily see them change everything to him in the Breath of the Wild tunic and all that sort of thing. Make it look like that old style the best you can.
I can tell you what I would want if they were to touch it, if they were to remake it, and I would want it to look like Mario Maker. Give it that super crisp edge. Keep it looking good. Put it in the widescreen. Make every pixel stand out, but give it that like plaything shadow the way that they've done in Mario Maker, where I mean you can see there's definite just parts kind of just like floating, that plaything shadow look. Yeah. And I think it would look really, really good. We have a live viewer who mentions Streets of Rage 4, and I don't know that I would be against that either. I think that'd be really, really cool. I think that'd be really, really cool. That would be a great one.
I agree with that. That game looks really good.
I'm with you. As far as another one that I don't think should be touched, and you touched on it at the beginning, but I don't think Earthbound needs to be touched. And that is a super huge hot take. I think from a perspective of what it looks like, it's still got that perfect SNES era pixel art. It still looks really, really good. Right. The Mode 7 stuff they did in it looks really, really cool. I love what they did with the backgrounds and how all of those kind of translated. The writing is perfect. The gameplay, I will say, there's a lot of missable items in that game that if they were to do anything with it, make it more obvious that you're not missing these things, and have a little bit better quality of life in terms of checkpoints in that game. Because talking to my weird phone daddy to be able to save my game in order to hit a checkpoint was something that was a little bit frustrating from a first-time playthrough perspective. But I really don't think they need to do much to that game if they're gonna touch it, and that's why I think it's important that I defined the difference between remake and remaster at the top of the show. I would be 100% with a remaster of that game. I don't need it remade. As much as I love the Link's Awakening remake style, I would prefer to keep that style going with some of the other handheld Zeldas that they have out there, like Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages.
Yeah.
Do more of that there, but leave Earthbound the way that it is, and let's not do anything crazy with it. Live viewer, by the way, Eric Ladd, remake Pokemon Yellow in Link's Awakening style? Yes. But I have a better take for you, live viewer. Do it in the Ken Sugimori style from the artwork of the actual game that was put out at the time. Like, I would love a Pokemon that is more along the lines of what their original vision of it was, where they have those hand-drawn looking graphics with that watercolor paint job. Throwback that way.
I'd like to see that. Like Fat Pikachu?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely Fat Pikachu. And all the alpha drawings that they did of every one of the Pokemons. All the alpha drawings they did of the Pokemon. With Venusaur looking like a very skinny turtle and a gigantic tree on his back. I'd be down for that. But that's my hot take on what shouldn't be touched. I don't think Earthbound needs to have anything done to it. I think it should stay the way that it is. And I know you had a different take on it. We can agree to disagree. We're not going to become instant mortal enemies here. But
no, I see both sides. I'm a little bit torn on some of these.
I'm with you. I'm a little bit torn too. Because like when we mention like Link's Awakening style, that is a very aesthetically pleasing style. But I don't know that I need to see that in every single game that they have out there. What's your next pick, my good friend?
So well, honestly, I was thinking about bringing up Earthbound, but um, one of
I'm
the other
sorry, you
ones I'd
can.
thrown around. No, no, no. One of the other ones I'd thrown around, and I'd swear up till when we started this, I think I changed my mind the more I thought about it. But I'm on the fence with this one. It's another Zelda game. I don't know if that's just the vein I was in. Um, but I think it's worth bringing up is Ocarina of Time. And I feel like I have similar feelings to this as I would like Mario 64. We were just talking about like the Super Nintendo era where things almost don't really age all that much. Like, you look at Super Mario World or well, Link's Awakening or whatever, Earthbound. And I feel like a lot of those, if they were brand new and popped up on the eShop, like as an indie, I think nobody would bat an eye. They don't really look like an old NES game. Granted, there's some indies, I guess, that look that well. I think they look really solid. Now, N64, I feel like hasn't aged so hot. So I feel like those could benefit a little more from a good remaster, especially some of the early 3D ones that maybe don't feel as great as they could. Um, but I kind of question if that's part of the essence of that game. Like with Mario 64, for example, like you can pull off a lot of junk in that isn't even necessarily supposed to be able to be done. And I wonder if they would go to remake stuff like that, if it would potentially ruin some of that freedom. For Ocarina of Time in particular, it's still regarded as one of the best games of all time, and everybody talks about it. It's still one of my all-time favorites. I really love to see that in HD and that world really brought to life. I think there's a lot of colors and stuff they could bring to it that even the 3DS couldn't. Granted, that one was really good, but I would really prefer to see that on a big screen TV, HD, and all. However, again, I got thinking, and if you really look in the backgrounds of some of that, like the mountains and things in the background, the walls that keep you from leaving Hyrule Field, I don't know how that would look. I don't know how they could make that look realistic and it not look like something you can climb. Especially in a world where we have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. So maybe I'm just rambling some at this point, but I feel like there's a weird line there that I wonder if it would take away some from the original feel of those games, if that makes sense.
I think it does. There is a very big part of me that, I mentioned it when you first started talking about Zeldas, and I was like, I don't know that any of them need to be touched. And then you mentioned Zelda 2, and I'm like, yeah, no, that one needs to be touched. And the 3DS, there's a lot of people that claim the 3DS Ocarina of Time one is the ideal and best way to play that game. And I don't know that I necessarily disagree with them because they did smooth out a lot of the pixels. N64 era, that transition into 3D games, the 3D game space, and the lack of technology being able to make things still look good, and an understanding of how to make things look good in that medium, was really lacking. It was really lacking at the time. So everything has like this polygonal, blocky, flat kind of look to it. The colors don't necessarily cascade the way that they should. You've got shadows in places that there shouldn't be. You have all this texture. Everything looks like a Pokemon Sword and Shield tree. It's bad, and it doesn't age gracefully by any means. But they were pioneering at the time. This was here's the very first 3D game ever. And Mario 64, because you kind of mentioned it, Mario 64 probably did that 3D space the best with the limitations that they had. But again, this was Nintendo's console, and that's Nintendo's first party game, and that's their mascot. Yeah. So I would expect that to kind of look good, at least a little bit. But
I mean, Banjo-Kazooie did it even better, so,
that's
technically rare, not Nintendo's.
That's a take.
I'm sorry, I keep shaking my chair, by the way. I've noticed. I don't know what I've got set up differently, but yeah, that is a take. I'm sticking to it.
No, you're good. You're good. But Link, my apologies, I almost said Link's Awakening. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, I think, could benefit from an HDification of it. And there's a few of them that are out there, a few hacks that are out there. for ROMs to make it look better. Some of these emulators do widescreen support and make it look better, clear up the pixels, make it look better, do 4x scaling and get it into 4K and make it look better. But it still has some of that just like N64 quirk and charm that everything is flat, everything is polygonal, and there's no getting away from that with the technology that's there on that console. So bringing a lot of those N64 games and actually giving them the treatment that they deserve. And I'm not even talking about, let's try to forget the 007 GoldenEye remake that happened. That was awful.
Yeah.
But GoldenEye is a prime example. I mean, you've seen how flat those faces are. Like everything, there is no detail on anything. Yeah, Perfect Dark, absolutely the same.
Yeah.
And I would agree with you. Banjo had a lot of character. From the way that they did their faces. They actually put some framework into giving Gruntilda a nose. You know, it's not just like a flat face with like pixel art put onto it in a 3D space. So I think Ocarina, and in that same breath, Majora's Mask, because it is the stepsister game to that game, could definitely benefit from having a real true HDification. But I don't know that they necessarily need it, because nostalgia does kind of mask a lot of that ugliness in some ways.
Yeah.
But that's where I agree with you that I'm kind of torn the same way that you are, where it would look good. It would look really, really good. And I think I would like that, and not being stuck to a gated N64 joystick and being able to move around freely in a 3D space and not have to use the C stick or the C buttons to change my camera angle and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But I think we should let that one die. And I'll stave off my desire for that one with probably what is my final pick. So I've given two that I don't think should be remade and one that I do think should be remade. And there's one that's always stuck out to me that I think Nintendo should go back to, really update, bring it into the same vibe and feel. And I think you're going to be offended by what I'm about to say, but I think the Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3 original trilogy could really benefit from being brought to a modern console and modern system.
If I can jump in, I actually had that on my list, and I was kind of doing the same thing I did with Zelda, where I was like, I can't decide if it should or shouldn't. Because a lot of people I've heard say it didn't age as well, look-wise at least. I think gameplay's perfect, but as Super Mario World or whatever. And I must be nostalgia blind, because I swear, even though I know some of the backgrounds especially aren't perfect, I don't know, I still kind of love it. It's still got a charm to it.
It does the thing that I think the original Super Mario RPG does with that pseudo 3D graphical style, where everything kind of just blends and it's hard to tell what's what 90% of the time. Now, granted, Rare did a good job of making like your characters really stand out against those backgrounds. Enemies, not so much. And there are certain areas in that game, especially like when it's dark or when it's raining, that it is nigh impossible to be able to tell what you're doing, especially like if you're emulating it through the Nintendo Switch Online and not playing it on an original CRT. It looks downright bad. It looks bad. I'm sorry. They did a lot to try to do, and it was revolutionary at the time. But again, it's that same problem that like N64 has, where N64, it was revolutionary at the time. Games graphics cannot get any better than this. And they were pioneers too. But I think I would like to see a lot more unification in that franchise, because they've already kind of done that with the Returns series, where there are two games that are in that visual style that's been updated and new. I think, and that's the thing that I feel in my soul whenever I think about games, not visually congealing across a franchise, and what I'd really want. And I think that from a modern remake, a ground up rebuild, and even don't give me Funky Kong, but give me Cranky Kong access in these games. That would be fun. Give me all the access to all the modern stuff that you've done in the Returns franchise, because I'm gonna lump Tropical Freeze in there with that. I think the original Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3, Diddy's Conquest. I'll eventually get it out. And the Kiddy Kong game, I think it could benefit from being brought forward and more in the same style that it is now.
I just don't know if I trust them to do it right. And maybe that's what I'm nervous about. Those are just really, I don't know if I can speak on that without being a little biased. I think those are just one of the biggest parts of my nostalgia. So it's kind of hard to look back, and I don't know if I want to see them made to look like Tropical Freeze. Not that that looks bad by any means, it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like they definitely have their own style that the newer series, I guess, the retro made ones, they're just different. And I wouldn't want them to lose that feel. They're almost, I don't know if darker is the word for it. At least 2 is definitely a little darker.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I feel like they'd have to still stylize it in a way. Maybe not even to make it look exactly like Returns and Tropical Freeze, but sort of have its own look. I'm not sure.
Just do the
I'm not sure how they
HD
would do it.
trilogy and it be its own standalone like side piece.
Yeah, just I don't know. I'm afraid it's like I'm afraid they're gonna touch my baby and just leave it alone.
If we just keep talking about it, we're gonna will it into existence. Come on, Nintendo, get back together with Rare.
I've mourned that for like 20 years now. I can't keep going. No, I would love to see them bring that back. I mean, I'd love to see them bring that series back strong. I think I just have to wait and see how it would look. Yeah, I think I mostly agree with you. But I'm not exactly sure what I'd want out of it.
I feel that. I'm 100% with you. That kind of wraps my takes. Do you have any more that were on your list?
Not necessarily on that. A lot of it was, again, sort of that N64 era I was kind of finding myself stuck in, especially where, it was really cool for the time. It was really groundbreaking, that early 3D stuff. And you can kind of lump some of the Donkey Kong Country stuff in there, I guess, as well. But it doesn't necessarily age as well as other things. Some things even younger than that. So I'd really like to see them go to that era to really give it another life. In various ways. Yeah. Again, I don't know how possible that is. I think with some games, it would be tricky to make it look awesome and realistic when it wasn't really built around that. Again, I kind of look at like the big fake walls in Ocarina of Time, but I mean, who knows? I'm not the one developing it. They may be able to come up with something I haven't thought of.
Absolutely. No, I'm with you. I am with you. That kind of wraps our hot takes. As a summary, bring back everything from N64 era and remake it. Give us F-Zero. You can keep Earthbound, or you can remake it. Either one of us would be happy. And don't touch Donkey Kong unless you can get Rare in there, guys.
Better make it good.
Absolutely. That being said, we're going to dive into our extra Nintendo news section. We've got a couple of new pieces that came out this past week. Kevin Afghani, the voice of Mario himself, the new voice, God rest his soul, Charles Martinet. I do miss him. He was such a light and a delight.
Yeah.
I want Kevin to have just more of a personality and a space the way that Charles Martinet did. Charles was put out there in front of us so much, and I don't feel like Kevin's really had that opportunity for him to grow on us. But that being said, he did post this past week, never in my wildest imagination could I have believed what this year would mean to me. I have lived a lifetime's worth of dreams in a year, and I truly cannot put into words how grateful I am from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And then just knowing that he is that grateful for the opportunity to be Mario, that just kind of shines in a way that I think Charles Martinet would have resonated with also back in the day. And that was the thing, is like having a person that loves the franchise and loves being the character as much as someone like Charles Martinet does in this same role with Kevin. I was excited to see that post from him, and I do want to see more of what he does.
Yeah, I envy him because it sounds like an awesome opportunity, but then I kind of don't envy him because like obviously everybody loved Charles Martinet. He was just a super happy guy. Like anytime I'd see him on something, I never got to meet him. But anytime he talked to fans or, just be on a video or whatever, he always seemed to kind of act silly and really just love playing the part. Like he would do the silly voices and stuff everywhere. He just seemed like a really happy guy.
He truly
Like he
was.
would be somebody that's really hard to not like.
He was. So I had the opportunity to meet him, and I was afraid that I would not get the opportunity to meet him if I didn't go. Like there was a con that was happening somewhat close by. He was scheduled to be a guest, and with him retiring out of the role, and then with him also aging the way that he has, I was afraid there wouldn't be many more opportunities that were there for me to be able to meet him. So the wife, myself, my kids, we packed up, we went to the con, we went and met him. He was a delight. He was an absolute utter delight to talk to. And I walked away from that because this man was the actual literal voice of my childhood. Mario was the thing that I was in love with as a kid. It was the only thing that I truly, truly loved as far as activities. And I had other likes like Power Rangers and what have you, but Mario was the thing for me. So to meet the voice of my childhood in person, I walked away from that experience with literal tears forming in my eyes going, that was probably the only time I will meet him. Probably the last time I will meet him, and it was an amazing pleasure to get to talk to him and actually see him in person and see him interact with my kids the way that he did. I mean, he was high-fiving them, and when they would high-five him, he'd go, and it was just the whole Mario shebang that you would expect out of Chuck. And I was super elated to see him. But Kevin, I want him to have the same opportunity to step into that same level of light that Charles had. And I don't know that he's been afforded that opportunity yet. And I don't know that the Nintendo today necessarily wants to do that either.
I know. I'm a little bit sad about that. I don't feel like they have the personality that they once did with certain things. Even just losing Satoru Iwata, I feel like they don't quite have that same like kind of odd charm.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, I think some of Charles' stuff was just natural. I think it's just him.
It was.
I think Nintendo found out, kind of went with it. Was like, hey, this, people seem to like this, but I think a lot of it was just him. And I feel like it's almost not fair to Kevin to expect all that out of him. But I do hope he's able to, look back in however many years, like 20, 30 years, and still have as many fans as Charles does.
Right. Absolutely. I'm with you. That being said, speaking of moving on to the next thing by Nintendo, there was an analyst, Dr. Serkin Toto, this past week that had came out with his Switch 2 predictions. He believes that the Switch 2 will come in 2024, and it's going to be $400, something that I'm not necessarily surprised about because the tech is something that is getting added into a new console. But of note, this new iteration of this is $50 higher than the launch price of the OLED and $100 higher than the launch price of the original Switch. He also goes on to say there's a high chance that games will cost more too at $70, and the next system is likely to be an iteration rather than a revolution, which we kind of somewhat talked about last week with Super Nintendo. But I don't know how this will go. From a consumer perspective, I think Nintendo will still be fine. They do not need to fall into the Wii U issue again, because it does seem like every other console is a hit or miss console from a great success perspective. Super Nintendo struggled because Nintendo was so prolific in households. And parents didn't understand why you needed to upgrade another system. They didn't see that Super Nintendo wasn't just the Nintendo. Then you go into the Nintendo 64, that's a hit. GameCube did so poor at its launch that they started selling them for $100. Like $100 for a console. That's insane to me. And then the Wii comes out and it's a great success. Wii U, again, we've talked about it. We obviously know how poor that went, and Switch is a great success. Switch 2 needs to be something revolutionary to help carry that $400 price tag. It needs to create a need. It needs to not just be Switch U, or even, I would argue, even Super Switch. As much as we like that name and it rolls off the tongue, I'm still arguing for Switch Advance. I will die on this hill. But that being said, it needs to be something that is different to carry that price tag. And if this analyst is correct, I hope that it's something revolutionary that he's seeing.
From a success standpoint, I'm not sure. Like you were saying, I guess history. I hope it doesn't repeat itself. If that's all it is just sort of an update. For me, I'm kind of okay with that. Just because I love the Switch. I love seeing when Nintendo comes up with crazy new stuff. Like the Wii and I even like the Wii U. But I sort of feel like it's gonna be hard to top what the Switch is. I think it's simple, but it can also do all this other cool stuff. It is both a home console and a handheld console. I'm kind of cool with them just giving it more power. Give it more juice in there. Let it catch up to the other companies a little bit more. So
yep.
I don't know if I really need much more.
Give me the power of the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch, and then we can talk. Steam Deck is not necessarily a powerhouse, but it does run the games. And that's the thing, is that they could take the tech that is in the Steam Deck. It is clearly affordable because the Steam Decks are selling at $350, $450, $500 a pop, depending on the model you get. They could go the Steam Deck technology route and absolutely knock it out of the park. I'm with you. Also,
I'm mostly okay with that. So.
Also up next on the news docket, Pokemon Company donates 50 million yen to aid Japan's earthquake victims. This earthquake did happen. It was a 7.6 magnitude earthquake that struck Japan's Noto Peninsula earlier this week, which was on the 1st, as far as that goes. Just to put that into perspective, the amount of generosity that the Pokemon Company had, that is about 350,000 United States dollars that got poured into there. Keep Japan in mind. They are still recovering from the Fukushima incident with the gigantic tsunami that came through, coupled with the earthquake 14 years later, I believe. And then this being added to that area. Keep them in your minds. You can see more of their press release on Twitter here, to be able to see a little bit more of that. But the Pokemon Company doing a absolute bang up phenomenal job as far as that goes with trying to support their home nation there. Also of note, we have Hi-Fi Rush rumored to get a Nintendo Switch port in 2024. Bethesda Softworks and Tango Gameworks rhythm-based action game Hi-Fi Rush rumored to receive a port for Nintendo Switch in 2024. This rumor does come right before they just had another rumor today that I saw talking about the possibility for Xbox going third party and just becoming a distributor for all of their first party games directly to other consoles, which would kind of line up with a lot of what I've heard about Microsoft in recent years, where they've acquired so many developers that they haven't really done anything with them. And then even beyond that, their goal is to get you to sign up for the Game Pass ecosystem or just buy their games, because we all know game makers, console makers in particular, they typically take a loss on their consoles to be able to get those into homes. Microsoft's end goal was to try to put Xbox games on every screen that you can possibly play Xbox games on. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see them go full third party. Hi-Fi Rush is definitely one that I would love to see come to Nintendo Switch. It kind of has that perfect Nintendo Switch style of game. It could easily be ported over there. I don't think it's too demanding on the console. The one game that I think Josh would like to see come to Nintendo Switch is Banjo-Tooie. Microsoft obviously owns that one now, so let's just get all behind it. But I hope this is the port. There's another rumor of another first party port that is coming out too. Details are a little bit scant on what that game is though. Final piece of news here. Pokemon TV to discontinue in March of 2024. The service will end soon. This comes directly from Pokemon.com, posted on their press and media page. Learn where you can enjoy the Pokemon animation on other platforms. Unfortunately, you need an entire matrix, which is this in particular, that they link to be able to watch all of the Pokemon anime. So, in order to be able to watch these, you need to have an account with Netflix for season 1, seasons 23 and 25. You need to have an account on Prime Video to watch seasons 3 through 5, 6 through 9, 17 through 19, season 2 on Prime Video channels, seasons 10 through 13, 14 through 16, and 20 through 22. And it just continues to get more ridiculous with certain seasons on Hulu, the Roku channel, Tubi, Freevee, Hoopla, and YouTube itself. So I don't understand why Pokemon distributes their content this way, but it does disappoint me to see the Pokemon TV app go away. And I know you mentioned your daughter was into that, right?
Yeah, every once in a while, kind of get on the kicks with it. It just made that so much easier to just jump on and grab a couple episodes of whatever Pokemon short or movie or show they had. I really do hate to see that go. I feel like I don't know if a lot of people used it, but it was nice for somebody sort of on that casual side of things to just jump in and catch a little bit of stuff.
Absolutely. It was just disappointing to see. Like, first off, they didn't have it unified even on the Pokemon TV app, so I kind of understand why that's going away, because they can't get everything because they keep selling streaming rights to all these different services to try to make just a little bit more money. But at the same time, like, I just want to see a unified service come out that has everything Pokemon anime as far as that goes. All the movies. I mean, and they could charge a premium price for that. There's enough content there to watch everything from Pokemon is an undertaking in and of itself because of the amount of episodes and seasons that are out there. I mean, that's what, a 20-year-old anime at this point, 30, maybe 25? 25-year-old anime?
However old it is, yeah. It's been around a while.
But that being said, like, I really just wish they would bring that into one house, sell it as a service that you can subscribe to, and you have access to everything, all a Disney Plus or what have you. Oh man. Anyway, that's my hot take. You've got some new stuff that's getting ready to come out though this week, Whopper. So won't you guide the people through what's getting ready to release?
All right, I'm going to do this one kind of quick. I feel like I can't read. I can't pronounce this first word here. Right. I think I believe it is it Laika?
I think it's Laika.
Age Through Blood.
Laika?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably saying it prettier than I am. Laika, Age Through Blood. It'll be $19.99 on Steam. It is on January the 11th. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It comes out on Steam January the 11th. There is no eShop listing as of yet. But I believe you had heard, is it coming to Switch for sure? We had that
yeah. No, it is coming to Switch. Right now it's already on Steam, and the Steam listing is $19.99, which that's what I anticipate the price point to be on the Nintendo Switch. But at time of writing, they didn't have the eShop listing up for me to be able to know whether or not it's going to be that price point. Fingers crossed. I mean, it looks really, really cool. It's like a mature, like My Friend Pedro-esque kind of Trials, Evolution, what have you kind of game with guns, and it looks cool. Go check it out.
The gameplay itself looks pretty cool. It definitely made me think of Trials, only with guns.
Mm-hmm.
Now the next one here, and you had mentioned this seemed pretty fun to you. I like the look of it. The lack of multiplayer is a little disappointing, but it is in golf. It is $21.99 for on January the 11th. It's sort of a putt-putt game. It looks pretty fun. I like how it looks, the colors and stuff to it. I almost see these as almost, I don't know if a puzzle game is really what I would call it, but I like a lot of little golf games like this.
Absolutely.
I do wish there was multiplayer. That feels a little odd to me, but we'll see how this turns out.
I want it to be
I'm interested in that one.
Golf with friends, but this kind of style is what I would like. Like, I enjoyed it. It kind of gives me the same, it's like a even less inventive What the Golf. I don't know if you played that game. I played it on my phone back when
I know of it. I haven't got to play it, but
it's ridiculous and super inventive. And unfortunately, like, this game doesn't necessarily do that. But I will tell you, I am a sucker for a good putt-putt golf game this is one that I do want to pick up and maybe take turns, pass a controller back and forth with my family.
Yeah. After that, we've got Frog Song, which will be $14.99 on January the 12th. I'm sorry. And this one, I believe, is a little more. Would you call it Zelda-esque, so to speak?
Yeah, I think it reminds me of Zelda with a little more dialogue and a lot more comedy.
Yeah, so I feel like we have a few similar to this, where they're sort of Zelda-like, if you want to call it that. Maybe I'm not doing it justice by just saying that, but yeah, I'm willing to give this one a shot. I feel like with RPGs, frogs seem to be a popular thing. I know that's a weird thing to notice, but it made me think of Chrono Trigger. Definitely not quite the same game, but you got a frog running around. It's similar. Now outside of that one, we've got Grotto on January the 12th. It is listed for $12.99. I said that right? I think it's Grotto. It's late.
You did. Sorry, I had to do age verification because this is a mature rated game, and I wanted to make sure that I was old enough to look at a website.
Yeah. I'd like to feel like I'm not that old, but I am. I'm definitely that old. Yeah, there you go. It's a little more of a mature one as well.
They don't really give like a lot of details of what this game's about, though. Like I still
I'm kind of looking at it.
Unsure.
Don't know exactly what to expect from that one.
The art style is super cool. It's got like the cell shaded, like sketchy art style about it that just like really, really resonates. But I think it's like a narrative adventure from what it's kind of saying here, with like puzzle elements to like combine constellations and stars. And even like the key features and details about the game does not like really tell you anything. Look to the sky from the sacred rock. Draw the constellations. Read the stars. Learn to read bones. I'm going to read your bones, Josh. But that being said, go check it out. It's $12.99. It'll be out on... What day did you say it was out on?
January the 12th.
Okay.
Which I believe is Friday. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Same day as a Frog Song. Now, the last one here is a little bit of a bigger one. It is Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown Deluxe Edition. Of course, the regular edition as well. Let's see. It comes out on January the 15th, which is 3 days. I'm sorry. The deluxe edition is 3 days earlier than the standard edition, which comes out on January the 15th. It is a $59.99 game, which for me, I'm definitely interested in this one. I believe there's a demo. I did not take down the date on that, but I believe there's a demo coming out. I want to say it's the 11th.
I missed that. I didn't know there was a demo.
I've heard pretty good things about it so far, and I'm interested in it anyhow. I haven't got to play a whole lot of Prince of Persia, but I've always kind of hoped to being able to give it a shot. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the full price tag on this one, but we'll see how this turns out and where that goes here in a few weeks. I definitely think it's worth a shot, and yeah, keep an eye out for that demo. I apologize, I didn't have the date on here on that. I believe there's supposed to be one on the 11th, or later this week.
Very cool. That's close. That is close. I'm kind of with you on that price point. Like, when Super Nintendo had brought it up last week, I was like, because we were talking about it during pre-show, he was like, Nintendo's the only people who can get away with charging an actual full price for it. And I mean, it's not $70, but the digital deluxe version and getting 3 days early access being $60. I'm kind of with you. It's a Ubisoft game as well, and as much as we love Rayman and Mario Rabbids and everything else here, I would say you could probably stand a wait on this one if you're really wanting it and get it on sale. That being said, the Prince of Persia series is something that I would love to see continue on. This kind of gives me like Metroid Dread vibes in some ways from like the gameplay that I've seen of it. So I am excited for it, but I'm kind of in that same park of everybody else. I will definitely be waiting on this one. So I don't know. That does bring us to our new segment, though. Josh, are you ready to be on a contest?
I think so. Yeah, I'm totally ready. Yeah, look at me. I look ready.
Well, here we go.
Let's do it. Hey, can you hear me?
Everybody can hear you. I was waiting for the intro to finish playing. But welcome to This Day in Nintendo History guessing game, TDINHGG for short, which I've got to come up with a better name for this game as far as that goes. And in this segment, my co-host Josh or our guest, but in today's case, I have my co-host here with me, must try to guess a game that was released within the past week, but years ago, based on trivia, a screenshot, and a random sound effect. Josh, as my resident nostalgia nerd, do you feel like you have what it takes to be able to guess this game?
We shall see. I feel pretty confident.
You feel extremely confident?
Yeah.
Well, listen, here's what I will tell you guys. The audience at home, if you are here, the audience at home, please feel free to put your guesses in the chat. And if you're catching it later, post it in the comments over on YouTube. And we are going to reveal your first clue. And your first clue is the trivia piece. Published on January 7th, 2004, for North American consoles, it was the first multi-platform game in its franchise. By the way,
that's all I get, isn't it?
Super Nintendo in the live chat says no pressure, but I got my game last week.
Okay. Repeat that last part one more time on the.
Yes.
Yeah.
Published on January 7th, 2004, for North American consoles. It was the first multi-platform game in its franchise.
Oh. I have an idea, but I as a fan of this series, a longtime fan, I'm going to be ashamed if I'm wrong.
Interesting.
Was it Sonic Heroes?
Just for the people at home to know what multi-platform means. Multi-platform means it released on multiple different consoles: Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, all at once, what have you.
Great.
Not necessarily for this game, because I don't know what all existed at that moment. I can't remember. But this was the first multi-platform game in its franchise. Your second clue is coming at you in a private message, and I will show it on screen for everybody at home as well. It's a screenshot from the game.
I know what this is.
From the game. Oh, you're confident. You're confident.
Yeah, I got this.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. If you guys are guessing along here and you would like to take a guess, please pop it into the chat as we do this. I'm going to send Josh his third clue. Third clue coming through. This is an audio clue, and I will play it for the audience at home. And for those of you at home, I will replay that audio clue one more time. If you end up guessing it in the chat, by the way, for those of you that are guessing at home, you get bonus points. I don't know what those equate to or what you can trade them in for, but you'll get bonus points. All right, Josh. Now is your time to reveal your answer. What do you think it is, my good friend?
All right, I think I slipped it earlier, but it's definitely Sonic Heroes.
You believe it's Sonic Heroes?
Oh yeah.
All right. Let me mute the audio here for our theme song that is playing in the background, and I will play the trailer live.
12 years ago, a legend was born. On January 7th, the legend returns. And this time, he's bringing reinforcements.
Here we go!
And it is indeed Sonic Heroes. Congratulations, Josh. You are the second winner of TDINHGG. Better name to come later. That is the trailer. Man, is it a piece of work though?
Man. I remember seeing this trailer when it first came out. Like, you hit some buttons on that one. That one, I was still in middle school over at Stonewall. I remember pulling it up in the computer lab. Like, I was Sonic crazy at the time. This was when, like, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle had come out shortly after. And I was looking so forward to this game. It ended up pretty well. I mean, it's not my favorite game in the series, but this trailer really got me excited.
I was about to ask how you felt about this one after going from Sonic Adventure Battle. Like, after going from that game to this game, How did you feel about it? And you kind of just answered it. It looked super cool. Like I was definitely not the biggest Sonic the Hedgehog fan back in the day. But I think Sonic Heroes looked really interesting to me, and having those teams of 3 going through the levels looked really, really cool.
Yeah.
I honestly am super surprised, by the way, that you got this, that you guessed this on the first clue pretty much. I was super surprised you guessed it on the first clue, but congratulations, Josh. For anyone who's guessing at home, congratulations. That being said, sir, I think that kind of brings us to the end of the show. Do you want to wrap us up?
Sure. So, with all that being said, that wraps up the episode. And Cody, let's go ahead and start with you. Where can they find you at?
Oh, dude, you can find me not here anymore because we're on the Nintendo Rewind channel, which thank you guys again for coming and following and for being a part of this channel and being our first 50 followers. We're going to have a few more streams coming up in the following weeks to try to hit that affiliate status. It'll be some bonus streams, some bonus content for you guys. But you can find me on Threads, Insta, and TikTok at Nerdwire Plays, and also over on my own personal Twitch channel, Nerdwire Plays, here on twitch.tv/Nerdwire Plays. And what about you, Josh?
Yeah, so primarily you can find me at Twitter. I'm going to still say Twitter at least, at Whopper744 Games, and also on Threads at Whopper744.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, ma'am.
Now, along with that, of course, all of our episodes will be in audio form on Apple Podcast eventually. That is still the plan here. And all of our videos will be on YouTube, usually the next day. All of our past episodes are already on there at youtube.com/at the Nintendo Rewind. Of course, please join our Facebook group. We really want to get that thing up and running a little more. I like to see everybody post in there and comment. It's facebook.com/groups/Nintendo Rewind. And of course, we have our social media page on Threads at Nintendo Rewind. So thank you all for watching once again. And remember, you can catch us live every week here on this channel, Tuesdays at 9:30 Eastern on twitch.tv/Nintendo Rewind.
Later, guys.
See you later.